a mixed up society whereby Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, they could all share the same sort of social values without having reference to their own divine books. So to amalgamate things and make a sort of religion is a man's attempt, and man-made things never prosper in contrast to Allah's things. God's creation always wins. So this is a phase. Sometimes cults become popular, and people think now the whole world will turn to cults. They come and go. They're like fashions. But solid religious values, they stay. They're not transient phases in the trends of human history. They're permanent fixtures. And that is why the Holy Quran gives the parable of a flood. It said when it rains heavily, you see the flood water rise, and the valleys are filled to the brim. Then it raises many a thing with it, some rich soil, some other elements, etc. But also there is froth on the top of that. What is visible is froth. But when everything settles down, the froth disappears and vanishes. What remains is only the solid values which benefit the world or the soil later on. So you must work in the light of this parable mentioned by the Holy Quran. We are for solid values, for permanent changes in the behavior of man so that he becomes. And don't be dispirited or oppressed by the lack of response, because maybe it is your fault. Maybe the way they can be made interested has not been employed by you. So I have spoken on this subject. I don't want to take up more time because otherwise there will be no end to it. So I hope you can listen to those cassettes where I dealt with this subject exactly, how to make people interested in religion. Those who are atheistic in their attitudes, who are only superficially religious, who are, who want to retain their freedom and yet become religious as much as they like. These are the basic crooked thinking and trends in man, which result in occultism and superstitionism and thisism and thatism. So you must tackle with the problem itself, analyze and diagnose the disease. Only then you can devise something to cure, because prescription always depends on the right diagnosis. So there is so many possibilities. How can I discuss all or even sample possibilities at this time? So you better start thinking in those lines, and inshallah God will give you light. Okay?
Yeah. Can I ask you the second question now?
Was it the first question only?
Yes, the first question. If not, I can give.
Okay.
The second question was, I was speaking to an Iranian individual, and although he's anti-Khomeini, once I just described Ahmadiyyat and as a Muslim's message. He said, I understand what you're saying and it's very appealing, but you've been here 100 years, but there's no impact on the world. A lot of people know where, you go to little villages in all the world and they know about Ayatollah Khomeini. He wasn't backing Ayatollah, but he was saying they all know him, but this is the first time I'm hearing, but you go to the villages, no one knows of Hazrat Masih Maud. So if it's taken 100 years, it's too slow. Why shouldn't be a bigger impact?
Just a minute. You ask him, there was oil in the world for billions of years. And human beings, when they were born, they used to see the oil on the surface. They never noticed, they never utilized it. So because it took so long for them to understand the value of the oil, you should not start utilizing it now. Why should you start trying to get benefit out of oil, on the same ground you can say, because this is something which was so insignificant in the sight of men, that although it was here on earth, available for them, and they used to see it, sometimes bubbling out by itself, and they never cared about it. Before that there was coal, and they ignored it altogether. And there are so many precious metals which are now used to improve the quality of human life, which were seen and totally ignored by people. So the ignorance of people doesn't mean that the thing which is being ignored has no value, or because it was ignored before, so it should continuously be ignored now. That's very stupid logic, very, very distorted logic. So you tell them, must see whether it's useful or not. If it is not useful, then throw it away, even if all the people practice it. And we prove to you that the Christianity as understood today is not useful, it is harmful. So what if 1 billion people are Christians? So thus the number doesn't mean anything. The slow pace of advancement doesn't mean anything. They are irrelevant questions. Most of these people from Far East are Christians now. Mm-hmm. Now you can turn back to him and say, tell me about 100 years after Jesus Christ came. How important had Christianity become? How many countries have taken note of Christianity? You'll be surprised to see that today, after 100 years, we are in 142 countries of the world. And the Christianity had reached altogether in totality not more than 28. I have been working on it with reference to historical geographies and historical reports. And the best margin you could give them was 28 countries. Even if you include just one missionary, Christian missionary having reached there. That was about 100 years after Christianity. And now 100 years after Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian, people have taken such note of Ahmadiyyat that wherever I go, even ministers come, the parliamentarians come, all the dignitaries come. Not that I find any honor in that, but in response to your question, I am telling you that this is the dignity which Ahmadiyyat has earned for itself. The respect which it has earned. So why don't you tell him all this? Tell him, compare the present of Ahmadiyyat with your past of that age. That will be a fair comparison. Otherwise, to compare a child of 1 year with a child of with a man of 60 years is no comparison at all. Very stupid comparison, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And it's not only the age which matters, there are other factors also which matter. Now, to end up on a happier note, let me tell you of a joke which just belongs to this category. There was a mouse only 2.5 years old, but he was full grown, of course. He had finished almost his youth and was entering sort of Ansarullah,
Like the hockey team.
As it was strolling in the jungle, he saw a child of an elephant. It was quite huge and big. So they started chatting to each other. They became very friendly. And suddenly the mouse thought how old he would be. If I'm 2.5 years, let's see how old he is. He said, Brother Elephant, how old would you be? He said, 2.5 years. And this mouse shuddered. So the elephant